Hello, how are you? This is Els coming from Bemis Crafty Corner, and this is week 3 of our class on building a journal out of a recycled book, an upcycled book cover. So, let's take a look at some of the things we're going to need this week. We're going to need something to poke into, something to poke with. We're going to need a needle. We're going to need some thread. And by thread, I mean waxed linen cord, friendship bracelet, some baker's twine. You need a good solid thread that you can use to stitch your signatures into your book. You're going to want an assortment of papers to make your signature, and probably some scrapbook cardstock. You don't really want this to be paper, you want this to be more of a cardstock to make pockets and belly bands and things like that, okay? So, let's put this to the side for the moment, and let's concentrate on building our signatures, okay? So this is where our measurements are going to come in handy. All right. This book is 7 1/4 inches tall, and I get 5 1/4 inches when I fold. So I want to make my pages come in about 1/4 inch top and 1/4 inch bottom. So I'm going to take 1/2 inch off my measurements. So I have 7 1/4 inches. Let me get my ruler. From top to bottom. And I'm going to take 1/4 inch off of that per side. So 1/2 inch total. So I'm going to take this to 6 3/4. So I want my pages to be 6 3/4 inches tall. So let's start with that. All right. Let me get a cutter. I've lost my paper trimmer in all of this. And it's not like I don't have 50 of them. Oh, there you are. Okay. It just got pushed in. All right. So the maximum height I want is 6 3/4 inches, okay? I can go less, but I don't want to go any taller. So there's my pages at 6 3/4. I'm going to cut this off. Now I'm going to save all of this because this is good for like little scrap pads and stuff. So we're going to hold on to that. Now anything that's like this that we would need to trim, you want to trim equally off bottom and top. Now this one's okay, I don't have to trim anything. Okay, let's take a look at this. So we don't want it to be more than 6 3/4. So I could take it all off of one side, but if I do that, I'm going to cut this in half completely. So I have to decide which one do I not care about. And I'm going to say it's that one. So we're going to cut that off completely. So I'm going to put this in. And this page is just going to be shorter than the others. That's okay. Because I can actually use both pieces. Because now I can put them in this way if I want to. Alright, then I have this giant ledger page. And again, we don't want this to be more than 6 3/4 inches. But I can take a lot off the top too. So let's take some off the top. Get rid of that. And then we'll take this to 6 3/4. Again, that's a piece that could go into my journal if I want to. We're going to do the same thing with this one at 6 3/4. I want the number at the top. There again, yet another piece. And then this one at 6 3/4. Okay. Now, obviously, this is going to be too wide to go into my book. So let's take a look real quick. This one's going to be too wide. Okay. So we're going to want to take it down. I want to keep this, so we'll take it down over here. And to do that, all I'm going to do is just cut off this piece on the end here real quick. I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to do that on all of these pieces, and I'm going to stack them up. All of these pieces that are too wide right off the bat. I'm just going to take those ends off and then stack them over here. It doesn't matter if we take off, you know, a lot. We just don't want to take off too much, so I tend to err on making it less. Now, this one, I don't really want this, okay? But I do like this, and I kind of like this idea, you know, of bringing this in. So I'm going to bring this one in, put a fold on it, and then I'm going to cut this end off. We'll save that. Again, that's good for pads, you know. And then I can take off even more if I need to once I put that in my book. Again, I'm just going to take this part off. And if I fold this in, I can make a pocket out of just that side right there. And I can do the same thing on the other side. And then I can put this in just as a pocket. So, you know. Now if I stitch that in, I've got a pocket on each side. Yes, that works for me. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit off of this one, stack it up, and a little bit off of this one, and stack it up. Okay. So, depending upon how thick your book spine is, you're going to be doing 1 or 2 signatures. If you're doing one, do you need to do a small one, or can you do a large one? Well, my signature's pretty, my spine is pretty stable, so I could probably do one big signature, you know, more pages than normal. Normally in a single signature, I would do about 6 to 7 pages, but in this one, I'm going to do like 8 to 10, okay? So, this is going to be 1 page, not counting that. Not counting that. That's 2, 3, not counting this, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, that gives me 11. I'm comfortable with 11. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Amy paper and my linen. I'm going to stack those up, and then I'm going to fold these in half. Okay. I'm just going to go over this with my bone folder real quick, just to get that as tight as I can. And I tap it down. Now, where's my book cover? Here it is. Now I'm going to take this, and I'm going to put it in here, and I'm looking at size. Now I know, based on this, that I need to take at least, that's about a 1/2 inch. I need to take about 3/4 of an inch off of here. So let's put this in and see where we're at. So we're at about 5 1/4. So let's take off, I'm going to take it down to 4 1/2. Now, these are generally too small to use for anything, but if you do collage paper or Franken paper, this is great for that. So now we're going to take this, put it in here, and see where we're at. And that's perfect. Okay? All right. We're going to give the rest of these papers pretty much the same treatment. We're going to fold it in half. And we're going to cut it to 4.5 inches, because that's what we determined was the right size. Now these, we can't do that, because these we're going to have to rebuild. Now, if you remember back to class 1, for the little golden books, we reformatted these pages. Okay? So this page right now is about 5.5, and it needs to be 4.5. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to score this at 1 inch, and then we're going to glue it together and let it dry. Then we're going to cut some off and fold it over just like we did the little golden books and create our own pages. We're going to do that with all of these, okay? So go ahead and get ready to do that. Get out your scoring tools, and I'll be right back, and we're going to measure all of these and walk through how to do all of these. And that's why I kind of selected a bunch of different sized papers so that we actually had to do this. So I will be right back with a scoreboard, and we'll get this taken care of, okay? I'll be right back. All right, so for anybody who wasn't in the little golden book class, or didn't, watch that video, I'm going to show you how to reduce a page on the inside so you can keep things like this that you want that are on the outside, or like this green ink that's on the outside here. So we have a page that's 5.5 and it needs to be 4.5. So we're going to score it at 1 inch lightly. Okay. And then we're going to fold it and burnish the fold. All right. Then we're going to glue these two pages together here. Just going to run some glue down along my fold line, almost to it, and then I'm just going to glue this section back here. Okay, and then I'm going to put these two pieces back together. And we're going to let this dry. Okay, so let's do one more. Again, we want this part out here, and this one is 7.25 inches, and it needs to be 4.5. So we're going to take, let's see, 2 3/4. So I'm going to trim this. Down to about 5.5. Keep that. Put it in the scoreboard. We're at 5.5. Again, 1 inch, very lightly scored. Fold and burnish. And then again, we're going to glue here. Okay? And we're going to set it aside and let it dry. All right, let's see what we got here. So this one's at 5 inches, so we really just need to take excuse me, we really just need to take a 1/2 inch off here. But if we want that like overlap, then we'd want to reduce over here. But since, you know, we're doing a fold out on this side, I think we'll just take a 1/2 inch off here. Okay, and we can measure this up against our signature. It's pretty close. I think I want to take a little bit more off. Okay, so I got that one set aside. So now we've dealt with 2 problems. Problem of our image on the outside, and the problem of it's just too wide. All right, so this one's at about 5.5, just a hair over. So I'm going to go 1 1/8 inches on this one so that it hits that 4.5 inch. Right there. Fold burnish. Glue. That we don't have to worry about because we're just making 2 little pockets out of it. And this one, I'm going to score this one at 2.5. I'm going to take the rest of that off. I'm going to glue this up. All right, so now I'm going to let these all dry. And as soon as they're dry, then I'm going to come back and we'll go to the next process, okay? We're going to need the scoreboard for that one. We're only going to need our glue and our trimmer, okay? So, go ahead and clear everything out of the way and I'll be right back. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring these back. Now, we've created a new center in the middle here by gluing the 2 pieces together, but we don't need all of this. So we're just going to trim that off to about 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, whatever you're comfortable with. I'm going to take a little bit more off of there. There we go. And we're going to do that with all of them. And once we've done that, then we can move on to the next piece of this, which is getting this glued down. Now, when we did the little golden books, we had to be kind of mindful of, you know, where the pictures were and the writing and things. We don't have to be quite so much with this because it's just the paper. So we're just going to glue it down. We're going to press it nice and flat and set it off to let it dry. Okay? So we're going to do all of these. Now, if you're going to round your corners or anything like that, you might want to do that now before you put your pages in. If you're going to ink your book, all your pages. You're going to do that now before you put this together. Otherwise, you're going to be trying to ink pages when they're all stitched. If you are going to be stitching things into your journal, you are not going to stitch your pages in now. You're going to stop, stitch in your pockets and things that you want to get stitched in, sewn in, and then restart the video with putting the signatures in, okay? Okay, so now I've created 4 more signature pages. So let me get my book out, my booklet here. I know I have another page here someplace. Where did I do with it? Always losing things, you know? There it is. Okay. Alrighty. So now what I'm going to do is I've got my basics here. And I'm just going to start kind of adding these in where I want them to be. And you just open it up and put it in just like you would a regular signature page. Okay? This one's a little bit long, so I'm just going to trim this edge, and this is the bottom piece, so it's not going to hurt it. It's not the piece that had the number on it that I wanted to preserve. Okay. And then I had this one here that we wanted to make the little pocket out of. So at this point, I would glue this edge and the bottom. And the other side as well. I'm going to show you something. Now you'll see that I left a little bit of a gap here. That's so that it fits in here. Okay. Might have to do a little bit of trimming because we're starting to get some creep, but that's okay. All right, and then we had this piece that had the little flip out. And let's see, where do I want to put this? You know what? I'm going to not use that. We're going to put this one in there instead. Now, if you do have to do some trimming, remember now we put that flip piece in here. And it's on this back side. So we want to make sure that we don't trim that. So if you want to trim to even this up, either use your scissors or make sure that you're well clear of that. You can see it there in the signature. You'll be able to see it. See? This is the part that needs to be trimmed. This is the part that's okay. And I'm going to do it with my scissors because I'm not that crazy. Okay. Just I'm going to come in, clean that up, make it look pretty. Right there. Just a little bit. Needs a little bit of love right there. Okay. All right, looking good. Remember, if you're not perfect on this, don't worry about it. It's a journal. You are a handmade person. This is not a commercial made product. All right? All right, so now, if you have anything in your journal that is directional, like this, make sure that you mark that's the top, okay? Make sure that you have all your pages set right where you want them, and then clip these all together. Where's my biggies? Here you go. Yep, one of them escaped. All right, so now I'm going to make sure that I note that this is my top. So where's my thing? Where has my flippy gone? Where can it be? Where did it go? This is why I love that things disappear on my desk. Hold on. Okay, I'll just use this. This will work. It's a blue paper clip. I'll know that's the top. Okay? Off to the side with it. Alright, so now we're going to get ready to stitch in, to pop our holes and stitch in our signatures, okay? So, at this point, you're going to want something to push into, something to poke with, that template that we made, your book with spine, and a couple of clips of some kind that you can use, okay? Now, I like to poke from the outside to the inside so I don't get that eruption. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So, things that you can poke into. Foam. You can poke into an old paperback book. That works. A notepad. If you have like a small flat ironing board that you don't mind poking into, you could do, poke into that. Excuse me, but you're just looking for something that you can, poke into. You can see I've done a lot of poking on this side. And you want something that's sharp and that is slightly larger than the needle you're going to be using. And you're going to want your thread. Now, I always bind mine with, come out of there, waxed thread, waxed linen, but you may not have this. If you don't have it, that's okay. General rule of thumb is the piece that you want is going to be at least 1, 2, 3 times longer than the book that you are binding, okay? All right. I'm going to get everything together so that we can do this, and I'll be right back. Okay. So if you don't have foam or something like that that you can poke into, this is regular corrugated cardboard. And if you poke, you can poke into this. Look, it's great for poking into. But you know, if you have a couple of pieces of this, you could glue it together. I use this when I'm using my spray ink, so that I don't get ink all over everything. But you know, I use one to shield and one to work. But you know, you could take a couple of pieces of corrugated cardboard that's just a regular cardboard box, cut a couple of strips out of it, glue them together, and let them set and dry, and you'll end up with something you can punch into. Now, earlier I was saying, you know, I like to punch from the outside of my book in because I don't like the eruption. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So this is my awl, and this is 2 pieces of cards, and I'm going to push through. And on the other side, do you see that? That is the eruption. I would rather have this side than that side showing on the outside of my book. All right. So I'm going to lay my book down. I'm going to take my piece, my template. I'm going to make sure that I have it on here in the center and that I have even top and bottom. And I'm going to clip it on. Paper clip, whatever, okay? And then I'm going to make sure that I go straight down. Not sideways, not wonky, straight down. If you have to stand up to do this, stand up. And it's going to give you some resistance. That's okay. A little bit of a twist on the way out will help your hole to open up a little bit. And if you've used tape, remember, you're going to get a little goo on here. You're going to have to clean it off. Okay? So now I have 5 holes in my book. I'm going to take this off. And I'm going to use one of these clips to mark which side is the top. Okay? There's your eruptions. That's why. See that? That's why I like to go from the outside in. Because now this will be covered with pages from the book. You won't see it. I mean, you'll see it, but it won't be, you know, in your face. All right. So we're going to get the book out of the way for a second. We're going to bring in our papers. Now, we're going to fold our template down the middle where we poked those holes. Okay. And then we're going to fit this into the center here. You're going to make sure that you have an even distance top and bottom. And then you're going to pop your holes, making sure that you're in the center. This is always the scary part. Right down the center. Just a little bit off on the back here. This one. So I'm just going to move it over. Okay. And by moving it over, all I'm doing is just opening the hole up a little bit, so it's more towards center. That's all. Okay. So now I have my holes. I know what my top is. My pages are together. Now we're going to do the stitching. Now you can do this any way that you want. This is the way that I like to do it. okay? I go in through my center hole and in through the book. Center. Pull that out. Then I take one of my clips and I clip this, leaving about 4 inches, okay? Now you can go up, down, doesn't matter, but you're going to go in the next available hole. I'm going to come back through and go into my book, and I'm going to draw that thread up. And then down through the next available hole. Down through the hole, through the book, and out the back. Here we go. Okay. Now, the next available hole is this one. Even though there's something in it, it's the next hole in line, so that's the hole I'm going to go through. And that's going to bring me right back up here. Then I'm going to move this over and go back down through this hole again, okay? And then into the next available hole. Down to the next available hole. Through the pages. Through the cover. And then I'm going to come back up to this because this is the next available hole. Okay, yes, I know there's already a string in it, but it's the next hole in the line. Okay? So we're going to go through there. Through our pages. And back up. And I'm going to stop. Okay? The reason I'm going to stop is because now is time to tighten. I'm not going to pull on the stitching. I'm going to use the threads. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to put my needle under that stitch and draw my thread through. Okay? Then I can pull these strings against each other. This is the original, this is the tail. It goes one way. The piece with the needle goes the other way. Okay? Then right or needle over non-needle, non-needle over needle, cut thread. Now I can remove my 2 top markers, remove my pieces that are holding it together, and I have successfully stitched in my signature. Now it's going to take a little bit for this to want to stay closed, and that's where adding pockets and tags and things are going to, you know, going to help weigh it down. All right. So that is it for this one. Okay? No. Okay, so that's it. Homework. You need to find what you're going to use to make pockets and belly bands and flips and all that stuff, okay? Doesn't matter if it's book pages or if it's just scrapbook paper. It doesn't matter if it's just cloth, fabric, whatever it is you want to use. That's your homework. Get that together for next week. Also, each one of you needs to make 1 paper clip to put in your journal. Just one paper clip of some kind. I don't care if you use this, you know, the old-fashioned trombones. You can use the butterfly clips. You can use owl clips. Here, I'll even take one of these Tim Holtz ones, okay? Whatever it is, you make one paper clip to go in this journal. All right? That's it. That's all you got to do this week. All right, if you're new here and you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit subscribe for me, like me, ring my bell, share me with all your friends, and then your friends can be my friends, and my friends can be your friends, and our friends can get to be friends. Before you know it, we have a giant crafting community. I go live on Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays at 10 a.m. That's 11, 12, 1 across the country, 8 o'clock over in Hawaii. I post videos on Mondays, Wednesdays, and whenever I feel like it. In 2022, I have two things going on. One is my 12 of 22 journal challenge. That's hashtag 12 of 22 journal challenge. And if you want information on that, just go to the description box below and click on the link. It'll take you to a real nice little slideshow, tell you all about it. And the other thing are these classes, these free classes of 2022. And in order to get information on these, what you need to do is when you hit that subscribe button and the little bell comes up, make sure you mark all, and then it'll give you the notifications when these classes come out. On the day that the class comes out is the only time that I go live to talk about what we did in the class that day. So if you want that advantage of being able to talk to your fellow students and being able to ask me, any questions, that would be the time and the place to do it. Of course, if you're watching this video afterwards, you can always just reach out via email, which is in the description box below, and I will be more than happy to help you with anything pertaining to the video. That's it. That's all I have for you. Until I see you again, stay well. Bye-bye.